So I've been reading this book lately, and I love sharing good books with you guys. One of the most important books that I've ever read years ago was called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. If you haven't read that book, I'd highly recommend you get that book. I mean, it's here in the library. You know, it's in every library. You can get it for very inexpensive. Any bookstore in the world, used bookstore, has it because it's a book from the 1930s. And the thing that set that book apart for me was when I graduated from life, being, close to $200,000 in debt and not knowing what to do with my life and how I would be able to be successful after coming from like being this little person from this little town in the middle of nowhere, Long Island, New York, where I was a very little fish in a very big pond. And I had this thing of like, who am I to deserve success? Who am I to be the successful person? How can I be a doctor? I'm the first person, you guys heard me say this in lab, I'm the first person in my family to graduate from college, let alone become a doctor, let alone a chiropractor. So how on earth could I be successful? And I spent the good part of my first 3 years in practice really fulfilling that thought process of how could I do this? And someone told me about Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And one of the things that it said is that you have to have a burning desire to succeed. And those burning desires needs to be written down as goals. And I had never in a million years, in all the years, I was 5 years old or so when I read this book, 26, and I had never in my entire life heard anybody ever say, you need to set goals for your life. I used to set goals like if I wanted to achieve a test, I knew how to achieve a test, right? Okay, so I got this test coming up soon, or these national boards coming up soon. I would take this amount of time to study, and I would study for that test, and then I'd achieve the goal, and that was it. I was a really good test taker. But I didn't know how to do that for my life. And that's what Napoleon Hill's book taught me, Think and Grow Rich. But this is to me, this is like the 21st century concept of Think and Grow Rich, and it's called The Science of Scaling. And I really love a couple of the concepts in this book, and I'm going to show you this one concept, and it's right over here. Let me scroll down to this one because I make it bigger for you. Define impossible goals. Set impossible goals. Like, in other words, the thing I really liked about what he's talking about in this book is if you set a linear goal, it's either A, going to be too easy and you'll certainly reach it, or B, it's going to be so ridiculous that it's not even a necessary goal. So here's an example. My goal is and this was my original goal. My goal is to pay back my student loans. Now that's an admirable goal, right? We should all be paying back our student loans. But what I didn't have as a goal when I first thought about this is in what time frame do I want to pay back those student loans? Because I came from this poverty mindset, this lack mindset, my first thought about paying back my student loans was this going to take 30 years to pay them back. Because that's what they gave you. They gave you 30 years to pay them back. And I thought it would take 30 years to pay them back. And I was so sure that was okay that my first year I got a deferment, so I didn't pay anything towards my student loans. So it gave me an extra $50,000. So I went from $150,000 to $200,000 in student loans. And I know that your starting point is higher, but this was 36 years ago. So I was like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? And I had to change my goal. And the goal changed to, I want to pay these off in 10 years. And that's not even sort of like what you would call an impossible goal. But that was a much bigger jump in, I'm going to do this in 30 years, then we're going to do it in 10 years. And I paid them off in 10 years. Because I set a very different goal. And because of that, I eliminated all this other stuff, all this unnecessary detail. And my main focus in those first 10 years of my practice in terms of financial stuff was I want to start accruing lots of money in my retirement account, and B, I'm paying off these student loans. And that's what we were able to do. So But now what he's talking about, Dr. Hardy here from this book, The Science of Scaling, he's talking about setting impossible goals. And I really like this concept because what this is like, and this is so great for you guys starting out, is looking at this and saying, okay, I don't want to pay back my student loans in 10 years. I want to pay them back in 3 years. Now that puts some good pressure on you. And what would you have to do to be able to, and not to do it and become poor and broke by paying back this? I'm not talking about that, right? But if you are successful enough that you're able to pay back your student loans in 3 years, like what would you have, how much focus would you have to have on building that practice, right? And remember, that's not the only thing you'll be paying off, right? If you have that much money to pay for your $300,000 in student loans or however much it is, right, you'll have all this excess money also to pay for all the other things and buy houses and all the other kind of stuff that you all start families, etc. Right? So I love this impossible goal because what it talks about is when you have this impossible goal, you say no to good ideas so you can pursue great ones, right? You start saying, I'm not going to kind of do a little bit of this, a little bit of this, a little bit of this, a little bit of this. You're going to focus. Like my focus is, boom, I'm going to pay these off. And I'm going to give you one strategy that helped me pay off my student loans years ago, and I still think it works today. And I was just talking to someone else, and they were just saying to me how they have this tremendous amount of debt. Aside from student loans, they have this other debt, with credit cards, and this and this and this and this and this. And they said, I'm never going to get past this. That was the quote, that this person said. I'm never going to how am I going to get past this? It's going to take me years and years and years. And I said, no, you got to start focusing your energy and paying off these things. So the first thing you're going to do is what I did is, as an example, I took out, instead of taking out loans from my office, I took out 3 different credit cards. I had 4 credit cards. And once I paid off, because I bought X-ray, I bought office equipment, et cetera, so I had 4 credit cards. I chopped 3 of them up, so I'd never use them again. I just chopped them up totally, and I just have 1 credit card that I was going to use for the business. And what did I start doing with each credit card when I paid it off? Is I started taking that money and put it to the next one. So I'm not good at math, so let's just talk about it in hundreds. So let's say this one credit card was $100 a month that I was paying. So once I was done with that, I took that $100 a month and what did I do with it? I put it to the $200 a month one. So now instead of paying $200 a month, now I'm paying $300, right? Because I put it on top of this one. And then I paid that one off. And so now I have $300 over here. And instead of saying $300 extra a month, man, I'm going to buy a Mercedes, I'm going to do all this. What did I do? I took that $300 and I put it to the next credit card, which is, let's say, $500 a month. And so now I'm paying $300 plus $500 is $800. So now I'm paying $800 a month to a $500 bill. And I paid that off, and then I have one more credit card. Let's say that was $1,000 a month. But now what did I do? I took the $1,000 that was there and I put the $800 on top of that. I was paying $1,800 a month for a $1,000 bill. And I paid all that stuff off, and now I got $1,800, as an example, $1,800 extra dollars a month. Now, I could easily say, oh my God, I could spend all kinds, I could go on vacations with this, I could do, no, that started going towards the student loans. And that's how I paid them off so quickly. Because I started, instead of paying off the $600 a month that they were suggesting I do, right, I was paying the $600 a month plus $1,800 a month. So I don't know how much that is, but let's just say it's $2,500 because I can't add. I had a mathectomy when I was a kid. So now I'm paying, instead of paying $600 a month, I'm paying $2,500 a month. After a couple of years of paying off everything else, now I'm paying $2,500 a month. So bam, that $200,000 went, right? And that's how you accrue money. That's how you accrue money. And for me, at that time, paying off for 10 years, that was an impossible goal. But now if I was doing it again, I would say let's do it even quicker. Like when we bought our house, we had a 30-year mortgage. We paid it off in 12 years. We just said, we're just dumping money. And guess what I'm doing with that money now? That's in savings. Every month, that mortgage is in savings. I'm not spending that money. I'm not going hog wild with that money. Like I have friends like, woohoo, man, we just paid off our mortgage. Now it's time to party. I'm like, ain't time to party for me. It's time to save. Right? All that money, boom, save, boom, Same. So we're watching our bank accounts just go boom, 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 and all the investments that we're having growing because we're taking our money and we're making it work for us instead of making it play with us, right? I don't have to play. I want my impossible goal, I think right now, is I want to retire. Like we are debt free. My wife and I are debt free. We own our house, we own our cars, we own the practice, we own everything. We own nothing. That was an impossible goal that we had years ago, and that's where we're at. And how cool is that? To owe $0. The only thing we have to pay every month is whatever. Like I have to pay rent in my office, and we have to pay utilities and phone and all that kind of stuff. But other than that, there's nothing else. And that is a good goal to have, is to be totally 100% debt free and do it as quickly as you can. Because that's how you make your money work for you. Because then you can take this huge amount of money and put it into savings. Right? And you can play with that money too. We play with that money also, but we also can put it into savings, and that's a really, really big thing. So the reason I bring this up to you is a lot of you guys are maybe your 12th quarter, some of you guys a little bit later. You guys will be graduating soon. You got some giant amount of debt in front of you, and remember, that was your ticket in, right? So don't ever curse at it. One of the things that I remember someone told me years ago, this is when we used to write checks for things, right? For student loans, my original student loans, we had to write a check every month. There was no go on the internet and send it in. So when we wrote a check, you know what we wrote on the little memo part of the check? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. Because that's what the student loans were. It was an opportunity, right? And I wrote thank you to the electric company. I wrote thank you to the water company. I wrote thank you to the plumbers. And every time I wrote a check, it was thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I still write thank you. If there's ever a place to write something, I always say thank you. Because you got to thank them for the service they provided, right? It got you there, right? So I never grumble. When you pay taxes, don't ever grumble to pay taxes. You know what taxes are? That's your gift. That's your gift for living in this country, and that's your gift for the destroyers and the aircraft carriers and the warriors that are out there protecting us, and the police departments and the nice paved roads that we had. That's a gift. So never grumble paying taxes. Thank you, Uncle Sam. Thank you, Georgia. Right, for allowing me to be in this beautiful state, right? So we have to understand that it is a very different mindset, and that's what I really like about this. Is this book and the Think and Grow Rich books? If you read 2 books over your break, right, or listen to them, you can actually get this book for free to listen to if you want to listen to it. I just noticed this here. It's on Spotify if you have Spotify, but if you don't have Spotify, you can get it for free, and they'll send it to you. Now they're going to keep on bothering you with emails, but they'll send you the book. But I think this is, you've got to change your mindset, right? I had to change my mindset from poverty mindset because I came from zero, from nothing in an apartment. I was in the living room pull-out couch. That's where I slept my last 4, 5, 6 years of my, middle school and high school experience. So, because a lot of people say, oh my God, did you come from money? No, I came from nothing. So you have an opportunity to make that change, but the first place you got to change it, just because you got a license and a diploma doesn't mean it's changed. You got to change it here. You don't change it here, nothing's going to change. And that's what happened to me my first 3 years, is that I didn't believe that I could do it. I didn't believe that I could be successful. I had to change my mindset to believe I deserve. I deserve for them to pay me for these amazing adjustments. And don't say just because, I'm a student, so I don't deserve. Or I'm a recent grad. No, like I told you guys in lab, you guys are, what percent of people in the world, of the 7 billion people in the world, what percent are doctors? 1%. 1%. You're in the top 1% of the world, even as a new grad. So you graduate I have 4 interns graduating this quarter. So those 4 interns graduate from day 1. They are genius level in their field, even though they just started, because they've gone through this education. They went through our peak experience, which means they saw unbelievable things, and now they're ready for anything. And the same thing with you guys. I want you, whatever peak experience you happen to have, you use it. Use it. Don't sit on your rear ends and do nothing. Like I hear some people do in their peak. I just sit around and I adjust a few people. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your time. Make it the best experience you can. so that you can use that up. And when you go out there, you take that information and you go running with it, right? And then scale. Think about this. Scaling means think big. Thinking as big as you can. And I will tell you, this particular class, I've taught this class like for 15 years. This class is, and I mentioned this to my lab class too, this class is one of the best classes I have taught in a long time, and I appreciate that because you guys seem very committed to the practice of chiropractic pediatrics. And I appreciate that because we need more people out there because there are some devastatingly challenged kids out there. We had a kid come in yesterday. Whew. This kid was a mess. On the spectrum, hitting himself, running around, so agitated. He just couldn't keep himself, steady. It was sad, so sad watching it. And I'm talking to the mom and dad, and they're like, we're trying everything we can. We tried the traditional route. Nothing worked. This is where we're at after 10 years. Now we're trying this route. And we're going to try everything we can. And you are the first of many stops. We're going to try you with naturopathy and homeopathy and other kind of things. And they're going to do all these different things. And I'm like, the foundation is the brain and nerve system. And I said, watch what's going to happen. Because we could hardly do our exam on him because this kid was so like this. And so we're trying to do the HRV on his ear. He wouldn't have. Or we're trying to. I couldn't even use. I use the reflex hammer usually to check for reflexes. I could not use the hammer. This kid was too afraid of it. So I just was using my fingers. So he was so crazed and so stressed in his little brain and his nerve system. But I know he's going to be better. Now, is he going to turn into some kid who talks and be totally neurotypical? No, probably not. He's probably always going to be, to some degree, have this sort of issues. Absolutely, right? But the difference is, what kind of life is he going to lead? Is he going to lead a life where just imagine this kid, and he was almost as tall as me. Imagine that kid now 20 years old, this tall, this big, right? Because that's his dad's a former athlete, right? Imagine that running around trying to control that, right? You better get this kid to calm down now. That's why you are in this room. You may not want to see those kids, and that's totally fine. But they're going to come. They're going to come. And if you don't want that, then refer to one of your friends who sees these kind of kids. But they are out there. And we can give these kids a better life. And if you can give them a better life, you deserve to be paid. Right? And I'm not doing this for money. I'm doing it because I love it. I'm doing it because I love the service. I love the giving. But I still deserve to be paid. Because if you change someone's life, don't you deserve to get some reward in return, right? As you give, so shall you reap, right? Isn't that how it goes, right? It's a circle, right? I'm not doing something that's not helping. If I'm going to help someone, then I deserve to get paid. But that was a very big realization, right? Because in the beginning of my practice, even though I knew I was helping people, I was like, but who am I? Who am I? I kept on, that was the question in my brain. And I had to get rid of that. And that's what books like Think and Grow Rich and a book kind of like this can help you achieve. And I want to share that with you guys.